The stars above Earth were calm, silent, peaceful. But deep in that silence, something dark was about to begin. In orbit around Earth, hundreds of ships floated like silver insects. They came from many worlds, sleek Threx cruisers, bright Ilari, sails, heavy Varnok gunships, and Earth's own Terran Navy vessels. They had gathered for a grand event, the signing of the Galactic Peace Charter. A final agreement between Earth and the other members of the Galactic Concord. Peace, unity, cooperation. That's what the galaxy wanted, Captain. Elias Ward stood at the window of the dreadnought TNS Vengeance, watching the endless parade of ships. He didn't trust them. Years of service had taught him one thing. When things looked too perfect, something bad was coming. Ward's second-in-command, Commander Raina Meki, entered the command bridge. "All systems green," she said. "No threats detected." "Looks like a real party out there." Ward didn't smile. "They're too quiet," he said. "Varnok gunships don't sit still unless they're waiting for orders." Raina raised an eyebrow. "You think they're planning something?" "Here, now." "I don't think," Ward said. Down on Earth, leaders from all Concord member worlds stood on a shining platform in Geneva, ready to sign the peace charter. Broadcast drones hovered, capturing the moment for billions to see. It was supposed to be the beginning of a new era. Instead, it was the start of betrayal. Without warning, Threx heavy cruiser Hollow Crown rotated toward Earth's orbiting defense grid. Its weapons, which were supposed to be deactivated, powered up in seconds. Green lights flashed along its hull. Energy spiked. A single coded pulse fired from its core. On Earth, the peaceful ceremony was interrupted by a burst of static. The broadcast drones cut out. Screens went black. A cold, metallic voice echoed through hidden speakers around the orbital ring. Protocols at a black engaged. Human containment active. Execute directive. And then the sky burned. 5 Concord. Warships fired simultaneously. The TNS Argent Dawn, a proud Terran cruiser, exploded in a burst of blue fire. The TNS Valor tried to raise shields, but a Varnok ion cannon cut through its midsection like paper. The third ship, TNS Horizon Reach, launched emergency flares, screaming a warning. Too late. Earth's upper orbit became a killing zone. Friendly ships turned against the humans. Lasers carved red trails through the void. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers inside the Vengeance. Alarms blared. Multiple incoming. "Threx Varnok, even the Ilari," Raina shouted. "They just killed 3 of our ships." The tactical officer screamed. Ward's face turned to stone. "Shields too full," he barked. "Weapons hot. Plot us a route out of orbit." "But Sirth, we can't help Earth if we die here." The Vengeance spun, engines roaring. Missiles flew from its side, taking out a Threx interceptor. A Concord destroyer tried to block their path, but Ward gave the order. Fire. The main plasma cannon lit up, a blinding white streak that split. The destroyer in half. There was no more doubt. The Concord had betrayed them. Not just one race, not just one faction, the entire council. Ward clenched his fist. So many humans had died to protect these species. Earth had saved Threx colonies from the VA raiders. Earth had given the Ilari fusion tech. Earth had risked its own fleets to stop the Varnok wars, and this was their thanks? "We're clear of orbit," Raina shouted. "They're chasing, but we're faster." Ward stared at the wreckage of Earth's defense ring. A dozen Terran satellites floated lifeless. Pieces of human ships drifted, spinning, burning. "Set course for the edge of Sol," he said coldly. "Emergency warp jump in 60 seconds. Destination. Anywhere. Just get us out." The ship vanished into the black, leaving behind the ruins of peace. 2 days later, deep in a quiet asteroid field, the Vengeance powered down its main engines and floated silent. The crew was shaken, angry. Some cried. Some demanded answers, but most waited. Waited for Ward. In the war room, the captain stood alone, staring at the table's holographic display. Every known Concord race was listed. Beside each, flashing red symbols, host stall, engaged, Confirmed fire? Ward had known politics were messy. He had seen the Concord twist rules to favor themselves, but never this. Never open slaughter. He pulled up a comms file intercepted during their escape. It was from the Threx Chancellor Varel. Earth's influence has grown too strong, their military presence too widespread. They are a threat to balance. Operation Zeta Black is approved. All Terran assets are to be neutralized. Neutralized. They had planned this. Planned it like a thief with a knife behind their back. Ward's hand shook. He closed the file and opened another classified logs from the now-destroyed Terran Command Center. One message stood out. Subject: The Containment Directive, Captain Ward. The message read, "If you're reading this, Earth has fallen under betrayal. The Concord's secret plan is real. The directive lists names, locations, all targets are human. This is not a misunderstanding. It is extinction." He stared at the attached file. So many names, admirals, scientists, colonists, children, each marked for death. Ward's face hardened. He downloaded the file, saved it into a secure folder labeled Retribution. Footsteps entered. It was Reyna. We finished repairs. Shields at 70%. Weapons ready. Any news from Earth? None. Communications are jammed system-wide. Ward nodded. Good, he said. That means they're scared. She studied him. What now, Captain? He looked at her with eyes like cold steel. Now, we make a list, he said, and we start crossing off names. In the weeks that followed, the Vengeance became a ghost. It disappeared from scanners, changed codes, used shadow ports. The Concord believed it had been destroyed in the chaos. They were wrong. Ward sent encrypted messages to hidden Terran colonies, warned them, pulled survivors into the shadows, built a network, and one by one, he hunted. He hit a Threx outpost guarding. Stolen human tech. He ambushed a Varnak transport ferrying Terran prisoners. He destroyed a communications array, relaying orders to wipe out Earth's remaining defense fleet. Each time, he left a message burned into wreckage. We know. We remember. We are coming. The galaxy had feared human strength. Now they feared something worse, human wrath. Ward watched the panic spread. Concord fleets pulled back to protect their core worlds. Alien governments blamed each other. Rumors grew. The Vengeance was said to be unstoppable. Some said Ward had gone mad. Others said he was already dead. The ship was now guided by an AI seeking revenge. But the truth was far simpler. He was alive, and he was angry one night. Mina stood beside him as they looked out at the stars they thought they could stab. Us in the back, she said quietly. Ward didn't answer. He raised a glass of black Terran coffee and drank in silence. Then he whispered something that would become legend across space. No treaties, no speeches, just payback. And so it began. Payback War. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but nothing would ever be the same again. Space was dark, cold, empty, but something moved inside that darkness, silent, angry, and full of purpose. The TNS Vengeance floated just beyond the edge of a dying star system. No light showed on its surface. No signals leaked from its hull. It was a ghost in the void, watching, waiting. Inside the ship, Captain Elias Ward stood in the war room. The holographic table in front of him displayed red dots across Concord space. Each dot was a strike, a betrayal, a place where humans had been attacked, captured, or killed. Beside each location was a name. The names were written in the Concord's secret file, the Containment Directive. Ward had found it after Earth was attacked. It wasn't a simple order to contain humans. It was a kill list. Each entry came with full details, coordinates, mission types, and even psychological notes on human targets. This wasn't a war. It was an execution plan. Ward tapped the table. The name at the top of the list glowed red. Chancellor Vrel, leader of the Threx Dominion. He had stood on Earth's surface, smiling and shaking hands with human diplomats. But days before the attack, he had sent coded orders to mobilize fleets near Earth's orbit. Ward had the proof now. He wanted something else. Revenge Commander Reyna entered, her face tight with focus. "We intercepted another Concorde transmission," she said. "They're covering it up." Calling the Earth incident a tragic accident, Ward stared at her. "3 of our ships destroyed, satellites gone. Peace conference turned into a massacre, and they call it an accident." Reyna nodded. "They've ordered all media silenced. Anyone asking questions is being detained. Most of the galaxy doesn't even know what happened." Ward's voice dropped. "Then we tell them." He turned back to the console. "Bring up the Ander system." The screen blinked. Ander Prime glowed softly on the display. It was a mid-level Concorde planet, not a military world, not a capital, just a peaceful city planet, once home to a human relief team. 2 years ago, Earth had sent medics, food, and engineers there after a biological plague killed thousands. Humanity had saved Ander Prime now. The same planet had declared humans biohazards and began rounding them up. Ward clenched his jaw. There were still Terran citizens trapped there. People who had trusted the Concorde. People the Concorde was now hunting. He pointed to the screen. "That's where we start." The Vengeance entered stealth mode and began its silent approach. It took 30 hours to reach Ander Prime. The ship drifted past security satellites, stayed low through the system's gravity field, and parked in the shadow of a nearby gas moon. From there, Ward launched the strike. A single black drop pod shot toward the surface. Inside it were 6 elite Terran operatives, handpicked by Ward from hidden colony survivors, veterans, specialists. Their job was simple: rescue the humans, leave a message. The drop pod hit the surface in the middle of the night. The Andari. Cities glowed with soft lights and golden towers. Patrol drones floated overhead, scanning for unregistered species. The Terran team moved like shadows, silent, deadly. They breached the city's inner wall using EMP charges and climbed through, an old maintenance tunnel left behind during the human relief mission. Ward had studied the original blueprints himself. Inside the city, they found what they expected, and worse: human families locked in cages, children taken from their parents, medical labs testing human DNA, soldiers using shock collars. One of the Terrans, Sergeant Nyla Voss, gritted her teeth. "They helped these people," she whispered. "And this is how they repay us? Orders?" asked the team leader. "Free the prisoners," she said. "Burn the rest." At exactly 0300 hours, the power grid shut down across the city. Drones fell from the sky, doors unlocked, lights went dark, and then the shadows moved. Explosions echoed through the city. Terran operatives moved fast, taking out key targets, planting charges and leading survivors to safety. By dawn, over 70 humans had been extracted. The Andari governor, a tall insectoid creature named Varlk, tried to escape in his golden skiff. He never made it. From orbit, Ward fired the Vengeance's main railgun. A white-hot beam sliced through the clouds and struck the skiff midair. There was no explosion. Just a sudden flash and then silence. The skiff was gone. So was Varelk. Ours. Later, when Concorde investigators arrived, they found something burned deep into the surface of Ander's moon. A symbol of Terran Eagle and 3 words in giant black letters. "We, member EVRY, THING. The news spread faster than the Concorde could block it. Secret videos leaked across pirate channels. Stories of Terran ghosts, of humans who had survived. The betrayal and were fighting back spread like wildfire. They called it the Payback War. Across Concorde space, panic grew. Ambassadors were recalled. Fleets were moved. Entire planets began locking down in fear. The Concorde tried to find Ward. They failed. He was already gone, back aboard the Vengeance. Ward stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring into space. RAYNA. Stood beside him. "You made your point," she said quietly. "They know we're alive. They need to know more," Ward said. "They need to know what we're willing to do." He nodded slowly. "What next?" Ward opened the next file. On his list, a name appeared. Archdirector Helrax, a leader from the Varnock Empire. Head of Concorde's science division, and the man responsible for the experiments on captured humans? Ward's eyes turned colder than space. We find him, he said, and we remind him that humanity forgets nothing. Outside, the stars shimmered, and in the dark, the Vengeance moved against low, silent, and deadly. Payback had only just begun. The Varnock Science Station floated above a red gas giant. Its outer shell was covered in gold-plated armor. Dozens of defense turrets pointed in all directions. Patrol ships circled it like wasps. From the outside, it looked like a research center. But inside, it was a place of nightmares. Deep below the outer decks, human prisoners were locked in glass tubes. Some were unconscious. Some screamed silently. Wires ran into their bodies. Machines monitored every heartbeat, every thought. This was the work of Arch Director Helrax, the Concorde's top genetic scientist, tall, bone-white, with 6 black eyes. And hands like metal claws. Helrax didn't see humans as people. He saw them as puzzles. And now, with Earth under attack and the Concorde in full control, he no longer had to hide his work. He studied a young Terran soldier strapped to a steel chair. This one is interesting, he hissed to his assistant. Strong reaction to pain, still trying to resist. The assistant nodded. Shall I begin the next test? Helrax raised a claw. Wait, I want to speak to him first. Why do you in close to the soldier? Why do you humans keep fighting? He whispered, It's over. Earth is finished. The Concorde has won. The soldier raised his head. Blood ran from his nose. One eye was swollen shut, but he grinned. You think it's over, he said, but he's coming. Helrax frowned. Who? You'll know, the soldier whispered, when you see the fire. The lights flickered. Helrax turned sharply. What was that? Outside the station, something moved through the asteroid belt. Something fast. Something dark. The TNS Vengeance. Ward had arrived. He didn't bother with warnings. He launched 3 stealth torpedoes straight at the station's hangar bay. The first explosion tore through the outer wall. Second ignited the fuel storage. The third knocked out the power grid. Inside, lights shut off. Security systems died. Alarms howled across every deck. On board the Vengeance, Ward stood at the command console, watching the station spin. Target is blind, Reyna said. We've disabled their comms. No help is coming. Launch breach team, Ward ordered. I want Helrax alive. 3 pods shot from the Vengeance and drilled straight into the research station. Terran operatives poured out, moving fast. Through the dark corridors, they wore black armor. Their rifles were silent. Their orders were clear. Rescue the humans. Capture the director. Destroy everything else. As they stormed deeper into the station, the smell of burning circuits and chemical gas filled the halls. A group of Concorde guards opened fire, but the Terrans were faster. One by one, the prisoners were freed, sick, broken, scared, but alive in the lab. Helrax tried to flee through a private escape tunnel. He didn't make it. A black armored figure stood at the end of the hallway, holding a plasma rifle. Her name was Sergeant Voss. Going somewhere? She said. Helrax turned to run, but Voss fired once into his leg. He collapsed, screaming. You're lucky the captain wants you alive, she said, dragging him by the collar. Minutes later, Ward walked into the lab. He saw the broken tubes, the ruined bodies, the files on human DNA experiments. His jaw tightened. His voice was ice. Upload everything, he ordered. Every test, every name. The galaxy needs to see what they did. Reyna nodded, already working the terminal. Voss shoved Helrax forward. You said it was over? Ward told him. That Earth had fallen, that humans were beaten. Helrax sneered through the pain. You can't stop us all. There are thousands like me. Then I'll find them, Ward said. He leaned close. You thought Earth would beg for peace? But you forgot one thing. Helrax grunted. What? Ward's eyes burned with fury. We don't beg, we strike back. He turned and gave the order. Detonate the core. The Terran team evacuated with the rescued prisoners. The Vengeance fired its main railgun one last time, right into the station's exposed fuel lines. The entire structure exploded, casting fire across the gas giant below. From orbit, The blast looked like a second sun. Back on the Vengeance, Ward watched the screen in silence. Reyna spoke softly beside him. "That makes 4 stations." Ward nodded. "And we're just getting started." He brought up the next name on the list. "Hi, Warden. Tresca, a Concord leader in charge of a secret prison camp, one that held hundreds of human refugees." Ward stared at her photo. She had smiled. When she voted for the Earth's containment plan, now, Ward would make her regret it. In the galaxy's shadows, whispers spread. The Terran ghost ship, the man with the list, the humans who would not die quietly, and everywhere they went, they left. The same message burned into metal. "You betrayed us. We are coming." And they were. The prison floated in deep space. No planet, no light, just darkness. They called it Black Reach. It wasn't listed on any Concord maps. There were no public records, no supply ships visited. Only prisoners went in, and they never came out. It was where the Concords sent people they didn't want seen again. Dissidents. Whistleblowers. And now, humans. Inside the prison, the walls were metal and cold. The air smelled like oil and mold. Guards wore black armor with no faces showing. The prisoners lived in cells too small to stand up in. They were fed once a day, and worst of all, no one knew they were there. In cell block D17, a human man lay on the floor. His body was bruised, ribs cracked, one arm badly broken. His name was Lieutenant Cole Marin. Once part of Earth's defense forces, he had survived the fall of the Andromeda colony, fought through the last stand at Vega Outpost. And then he was captured. He hadn't spoken in days. But today, something felt different. There was a low rumble through the floor, a vibration. Not from inside the prison, but from outside. In the control tower, High Warden Tresca sat in her chair. She was a tall reptilian female with silver scales and a sharp, cruel mouth. Her voice was always calm, even when ordering executions. She looked out the glass window into the blackness. A small dot had appeared in the distance. Her sensors didn't detect it. No ID code. No signal. Just a silent black shape, growing closer. Alert. "Defense systems," she said. The guards moved quickly, locking down blast doors, powering up drone cannons, and raising the energy shields. But it was already too late. They blinked out and reappeared. Inside the prison's perimeter, the TNS Vengeance had jumped straight through the defense net using a microfold drive, something the Concorde had never seen before. Inside the warship, Captain Ward stood in the drop bay. His face was grim. His armor was dark and marked with the Terran eagle. "This isn't a rescue," he said to his team. "It's a message." The drop pods launched. 6 slammed into Blackreach's outer shell. Explosions followed. Gas and fire flooded the lower decks. Terran operatives swarmed through the halls like shadows. They didn't shoot to wound, they shot to end it. Warden Tresca screamed orders as she tried to escape. She never reached her transport. Sergeant Voss found her in the upper corridor. Tresca tried to run, till Voss brought her down with a single shot to the leg. "You're taking prisoners now?" Tresca hissed, bleeding. Voss stepped over her. "No," she said. "But we brought someone who might want a word." Minutes later, Captain Ward entered the corridor. He looked down at Tresca, like she was already a corpse. "You locked our people away in the dark," he said. "You thought no one would ever find them? They're dangerous," she spat. "Unstable, violent." "No," Ward said coldly. "They were kind. They helped your people. They believed in peace. You betrayed them." He raised his weapon. "No trial," she said weakly. Ward didn't answer. He fired once after that. Ward and his team moved through the prison like a blade through flesh. Door by door. They freed every human inside. Some cried, some couldn't walk, some didn't believe it was real. But when they saw the Terran armor, when they saw the eagle crest, they knew humanity hadn't died. It had come back, and it was angry. One by one, the prisoners were loaded onto evac ships and taken to a hidden Terran safe zone. An old mining colony the Concorde had long abandoned. Now it was a base, a rally point. As the last shuttle left Blackreach, the Vengeance fired 2 plasma lances straight into the station's reactor. Blackreach cracked, open like a dead shell. The explosion lit up the black void. On the edge of that blast, a small drone hovered, broadcasting everything. Footage of the prison, the freed humans, Tresca's final moments, within hours. It reached millions across Concord space. Cracks began to form. Governors called for answers. People demanded truth. Concord Command tried to lie, but the truth was now everywhere. Humanity was still alive, and it was fighting back. In a dark room on a rich Concord world, a dozen officials watched the footage in silence. One of them, a pale, snake-like alien named Premier Ulven, turned to his aide. "Who is this man?" he asked. "Captain Elias Ward," the aide replied. "Former Earth Defense," he declared, dead. "After the siege of Mars?" Clearly, Ulven said coldly. "He's not." The aide nodded. "He has a ship that Concord can't track. Soldiers we can't fight. He strikes without warning, leaves no trail." Ulven stood, his eyes narrowing. "Then we must kill the idea of him," he said, "before the galaxy starts to believe in ghosts." But it was already too late. Ward was more than a man now. He was a symbol, and he had just picked his next target, Premier. Ulven himself, in space. The Vengeance disappeared into the black once more, and every Concord leader with blood on their hands felt it coming. The reckoning. Premier Ulven sat behind a wall of armored glass, high above the capital of Jorvac Prime. Below, the city sparkled with towers of gold and rivers of neon light. It was one of the richest Concord worlds, full of wealth, power, and secrets, and fear, because somewhere out there, Elias Ward was watching. Ulven tried to act calm, gave speeches, smiled on broadcast screens, and claimed that Earth's destruction had been necessary to protect peace. He called the attacks on Ender, the science station, and Blackreach the work of extremists. But every night, he woke up sweating, because each target on the Concord secret kill list had vanished one by one, and now his name had come next. He tightened security. He hired assassins. He used decoys, even launched drone fleets across 5 systems to search for Ward's ship. None of it worked, because Ward didn't attack when you expected him. He waited, he studied, and then he struck. Far above Jorvac Prime, hidden in the black void behind its outer moon, the TNS Vengeance floated without lights or sound. Inside, Captain Ward stared at a spinning hologram of Ulven's palace. His personal guard is 300 strong, Reyna said beside him. "Shielded, trained, armed to the teeth." "Good," Ward said. "They'll know what it feels like when they lose everything." He had studied Ulven's movements for days. The Premier was arrogant. Every evening he hosted private dinners with wealthy Concord leaders, always in the same crystal tower, always guarded by the same patrols. Ward didn't plan to sneak in. He planned to walk straight through. That night, as the sun set over Jorvac Prime, a meteor shower appeared above the city. It was no accident. Those weren't meteors, they were. Terran dropped Pods. 4 slammed into the palace grounds in perfect sync. One crushed a parked hover limo. Another tore through the garden roof. Smoke filled the skies. Panic broke out. Terran operatives poured out like black fire. The palace guards fought back, but they weren't ready. Not for soldiers who had survived the fall of Earth. Not for the fury that burned in the hearts of Deathworlders. Captain Ward led the charge through the front entrance. He moved fast 2 shots to drop the guards, a side roll past the turret, straight through the main doors inside the banquet hall. Premier Ulven stood frozen, surrounded by high-ranking Concord guests. Crystal goblets smashed to the floor. Ward raised his rifle. A dozen red dots lit up across his armor as palace security took aim. But Ward didn't flinch. "I'm not here for the rest of you," he said. "Just him." He pointed at Ulven. The guests scrambled. Security fired. But Ward was already moving. He dropped 2 guards with a flashbang and dove behind a pillar. His operatives flanked the east hallway. One launched a sonic grenade that tore through the shield net. Reyna stormed in from the rooftop. She tackled Ulven's chief of defense and disarmed him in seconds. Ulvin tried to run. He made it 10 steps before Ward appeared in front of him. The Premier fell to the floor, shaking. "Don't kill me," he begged. "Please, I have information." "I can help." Ward stared at him. "You voted to glass Earth. You watched as billions burned, and you called it peace." "It wasn't me," Ulvin stammered. "I was following the directive." Ward stepped closer. "That directive is ash now." He raised a data stick. "This is your confession," he said. "You're going to record it. You're going to tell the galaxy what the Concord did. Every lie, every plan, every secret vote." Ulvin shook his head. Ward fired a shot past his ear. "You will talk," he said. "Or you'll be just another body. I'll move on to the next name." Ulvin finally nodded that night. A message spread across every system through encrypted networks. Pirate satellites and broken broadcast towers. It showed Ulvin's face, shaking, crying, confessing. He spoke of the plan to weaken Earth with fake alliances. The plan to keep humans from rising too far. The secret orders to destroy Earth's defenses during the peace summit. He named names. He named planets. He named everything. And at the end of the video, symbol appeared. The Terran Eagle. And 4 words. "We never forgive traitors." The galaxy lost its breath. Some Concord worlds fell into chaos. Others rose in protest. And in the shadows, dozens of human survivors across space saw the message and knew they weren't alone anymore. Back on the Vengeance, Reyna turned to Ward. "You broke their silence." Ward stared at the stars. "They started this war in secret," he said. "Now we finish it in the open." He walked to the next terminal. One name remained. One target. The final one. Grand Marshal Alex Varn, commander of the fleet that destroyed Earth, the Butcher of Terra. Ward's hands clenched into fists. "It's time to end this," he said. The Vengeance turned toward the last battlefield, and this time it wouldn't be a strike, it would be a war. The Concord War Command, also called the Fang, floated above the scorched world of Craxus. It was a massive battle station 12 kilometers wide, bristling with cannons, missile pods and shield towers, and deep inside it sat the last name. On Captain Ward's list, Grand Marshal Alex Varn. He wasn't like the others. He didn't hide. He didn't run. He was waiting. Varn stood tall, 7 feet of muscle and cold armor. His red eyes never blinked. His voice was always calm, even when giving orders to burn cities. He had led the assault on Earth. He had destroyed the Terran Council. He had personally given the order to fire the orbital lance that split North America in two. And now, the Terran Ghost was coming for him. He knew it. He wanted it. In the command chamber, officers watched the news feeds Ulvin's confession, the fall of Blackreach, the destruction of Yorvac Prime's palace. They're calling him a ghost. One officer muttered, "A myth." Varn stared at the holomap. A red blinking signal had just appeared far from the core worlds, near the broken ruins of Saturn's rings. "Not a ghost," he said, "just a man with a purpose." He activated the fleet. Thousands of warships launched from orbiting dry docks. Fighters swarmed the skies. Interceptor arrays scanned every corner of nearby space. This would be no ambush. This would be a final war on the edge of the Craxus system. The TNS Vengeance came out of jump. Inside the bridge, Captain Ward stood with his hands behind his back. Reyna looked up from her console. "He knows we're coming." "Good," Ward said. "We're not here to hide." The Terran fleet followed. 9 hidden ships smaller than the Vengeance, but fast, deadly, and full of survivors from Earth. Mars, Europa, and Vega, each one carried soldiers who had lost everything. Each one carried fury. They had waited long enough. In a private chamber, Ward pulled on his battle armor. It was scarred, patched, and heavy, but it fit like a second skin. Reyna approached him. "This time, we may not come back." Ward looked her in the eyes. "Then we make sure the galaxy remembers what we did here." The Vengeance plunged toward the Concord fleet. Hundreds of enemy ships locked onto it. "Full burn," Ward ordered. Break the line. The Vengeance fired everything. Railguns tore through enemy hulls. Missile swarms exploded across the flanks. Concord ships tried to surround them, but the Terran fleet punched straight through, moving like wolves among cattle. Reyna shouted over the comms. "Flank squadron reporting success? We've disabled 3 carriers." Ward focused on the Fang. "We're going in." He didn't wait for approval. The Vengeance cut straight toward the war station, dodging plasma fire and anti-ship cannons. 2 Terran stealth corvettes flew ahead. Slicing into the station's hangars. Inside, chaos exploded. Terran shock teams stormed the command decks. Blaster fire echoed through the halls. Concord defenders fell one by one, and Ward. He walked through the fire, his armor lit up with damage warnings, but he kept going. A missile exploded behind him. He didn't flinch. He kicked down the doors of the central command tower, and there he found Varn, waiting, unarmed, unmoving. "Captain Elias Ward," Varn said coldly. "The man who's broken my empire." Ward leveled his rifle. "You burned my world." "And I'd do it again," Varn sneered. "Your species was a threat. You would have done the same." "We would have fought you fair," Ward said. "You've stabbed us during peace talks, because that's how empires survive." "No," Ward said. "That's how they die." Varn lunged. The two clashed like Titans. Ward's fists against Varn's claws. Sparks flew. Steel cracked. Blood spilled. Varn smashed Ward into the wall butt. Ward countered with a combat blade to the gut. Varn roared and slammed Ward to the floor. "You think killing me will change anything?" Ward spat blood. "No, but it's a start." He grabbed a pulse detonator from his belt, pressed it to Varn's chest. The blast knocked both of them apart. Varn collapsed, still breathing but broken. Ward stood over him, gasping. "You'll live," he said, "just long enough to face trial." Then he turned to the main terminal and sent out one final broadcast to the entire galaxy. A live feed of the Concord's defeat, of the war criminals captured, of the Terran. Flag rising again on the enemy's throne. Reyna's voice came through. "Come, Captain, the Fang is ours." Ward looked at the stars for Earth, he whispered behind him. The Vengeance glowed with battle scars, but it still stood, and the message was clear. Humanity had returned, and it was no longer begging. Was leading. The galaxy did not sleep. Not after what it saw. The Concord's most powerful fleet had fallen. Its war station had been captured. And the butcher of Earth, Grand Marshal Olix Varnos, now a prisoner. The message was everywhere. Humanity wasn't dead. It was rising. But with that rise came something no one expected: fear. Not just in Concord leaders, not just in alien worlds, but in the neutral systems too. It's the ones that had stayed silent while Earth burned. Now they watched as the Terran Eagle returned to every broadcast, not as a plea for peace, but as a warning. And some began to wonder, what if humanity went too far? On the edge of the neutral zone, a massive trade hub known as Vale Nexus buzzed with activity. It was the largest market station in 5 sectors full of alien diplomats, merchants, and spies. That's where Ward went next. Not with weapons, but with a message, inside a private chamber deep in the Nexus. 12 system leaders gathered. They were from independent worlds, races that had refused to side with the Concord, but also hadn't helped Earth during the war. They had money, ships, and secrets, and now were afraid. Afraid that humanity might come for them next. The chamber. Lights dimmed. A figure stepped out of the shadows, Captain Elias Ward. Some stood up. Others reached for concealed weapons. Ward raised one hand. "If I wanted revenge," he said, "this station would already be on fire." Silence. "But I didn't come here to burn," he continued. "I came here to offer a choice." The leaders, a 4-eyed lizard named Sarekman, hissed. "A choice? We stayed out of your war. We owe you nothing." Ward nodded. "You stayed quiet while the Concord glassed Earth. You watched while they hunted the survivors. You turned your backs when we begged for help." He stepped closer. "But I'm not here to punish you for the past. I'm here to ask what kind of future you want." They looked at each other, suspicious, confused. Ward tapped a small device. Star map appeared in the air. Half of it was red Concord territory. The other half flickered with sparks. Sparks of resistance. All. Across the galaxy, Ward said, worlds are rising up. Concord stations are falling. Ships are defecting. Colonies are declaring independence. The war is cracking their grip. He looked them in the eyes. You can join us. We build something new. A coalition of equals. And if we don't, ask Saruman. Ward's voice dropped lower. Then you'll have to choose between serving the Concord or being alone when the storm breaks. A long silence followed. Finally, Juanita, small insectoid named Trika, clicked her mandibles. We will not fight you, she said. But we will not follow you either. Not yet. Ward nodded again. I can live with that. He turned to leave, but before he walked out, he paused. One more thing, he said. The Concord has a new plan. They're building something. He threw a data chip on the table. It's called Project Silence. It's not just a weapon. It's designed to erase communication, shut down systems, cut off broadcasts, isolate entire planets. They want to stop the truth before it spreads. The room went cold. If they finish it, Ward said, they'll silence us all. Without another word, he left. Hours later, deep in the Terran safe zone, the Leadership Council met in a secret war chamber. Reyna, Voss, and other commanders stood beside Ward. He pointed at the projected Concord data. This is where they're building Project Silence, he said. A hidden moon in the Draxel expanse. It's shielded, cloaked, and protected by the last Concord Loyalist fleet. We attack? Reyna asked. Ward nodded. We end it. But it's not just a base, Voss said, reading the scans. A factory. We've already built the first silence core. If they activate it, we could lose every signal across 3 sectors. No more resistance coordination. No more broadcasts. Total darkness. Ward's jaw clenched. They stabbed us in. The back once, he said. Now they want to erase us completely. Turned to the holomap. We strike fast, hard one push. We destroy the silence core before they bring it online. Everyone in the room nodded. This was no longer a fight for revenge. This was the final move in a galaxy-wide battle for truth, and as the TNS Vengeance prepared for launch once more, Captain Elias Ward stood at the viewport, watching the stars. We may not survive this one, Reyna said quietly beside him. We don't have to, Ward replied. As long as the galaxy remembers what we stood for. He looked at the stars and whispered, no more silence. The final battle was near, and Ward would not go quietly. The stars above Draxel Expanse were quiet, too quiet. No comm traffic, no trade signals, no beacon pulses. Nothing. A dark zone had formed around the hidden moon, known only as Site Zero, home of the Concord's most dangerous secret, Project Silence. Beneath the moon's rocky surface, machines hummed in cold harmony. Engineers moved like ghosts. At the center of it all stood the Silence core, a massive sphere of energy coils, signal dampeners, and reality-fracturing tech. If it activated, it would do more than block COMMs. It would erase signals across systems, kill power grids, disable ships, mute resistance, silence truth, forever. At the edge of the moon's orbit, the TNS Vengeance decloaked. Status, Captain Elias Ward asked. Reyna scanned her console. They don't know we're here yet, but their shield net is building power fast. We have less than 1 hour. Ward looked at the HOLO dash screen. Hundreds of enemy ships guarded Site Zero. Heavy. Destroyers, autocannons, a defense grid buried into the moon's crust. But none of that stopped him. Begin the final strike, he said across nearby space. The Terran Liberation Fleet dropped from warp. 12 warships, 2 stealth cruisers, 1 ex-Concord dreadnought, taken in the last raid, and all of them flew under one banner. The banner of Earth's revenge. The battle exploded like a starburst. Terran ships broke formation and dove straight into the defense line. Plasma fire lit the black sky. Concorde turrets launched swarms of missiles. One Terran vessel took a direct hit and vanished in flames. Ward didn't blink. Focus fire on the grid towers. Get me a clear path to the surface, Brayna shouted. Landing zone marked. It's hot, but we can punch through if we go now. Ward didn't hesitate. Drop me. Troop pod launched from the Vengeance, heading straight for the moon. It smashed into the surface at over 3,000 kilometers per hour. The hatch exploded open. Ward stepped out in full battle armor, Terran Eagle burning across his chest. Behind him, fire teams stormed the tunnels. Marines from Mars, engineers from Luna, survivors from Vega and Onda. They moved as one. They moved with purpose. Concorde defenders fought back. They were outmatched. Every Terran shot was precise. Every charge was coordinated. These weren't just soldiers, they were ghosts of a dead world. Back to write history and fire, Ward led the final team into the core chamber. There it was, the silence. Core, a pulsing monster of red light humming with deadly energy. Concorde techs scrambled around it, locking in the final sequence. 10 minutes until activation. One Terran engineer shouted. Too long, Ward growled. We end it now. Alarm screamed. The room flooded with defense drones. Ward raised his rifle and charged. The fight was brutal. Lasers lit the darkness. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Drones swarmed like hornets. Ward moved like thunder, clearing a path with each step. Reyna fought beside him, firing pulse rounds into the core's armor. Charges placed, a soldier yelled. Detonation in 90 seconds. Suddenly, a shield wall slammed down between the team and the exit. They were trapped. Reyna's eyes widened. We won't make it out in time. Ward didn't panic. He reached into his pack and pulled out a manual override stick, one that required direct insertion into the core space. Someone would have to go in by hand and not come back. Reyna stepped forward. I'll do it. Ward shook his head. You have a future. She grabbed his arm. So do you. But Ward smiled. No, I had a world. They took it. Now, I'll take this from them. Before anyone could stop him, he sprinted toward the core. Shots fired. Drones attacked. He pushed forward anyway, roaring. In fury, he reached the base of the core, slammed in the override stickhand, stabbed the activation trigger. The light surged, then dash, boom. A shockwave rocked the moon. The silence core exploded in a ball of white fire. The surface cracked. Towers collapsed, above, in space. Every Concorde ship went dark for just 1 second. Then their systems rebooted. But it was too late. The core was gone. Project Silence. Destroyed, and with it, the last great weapon of the Concorde, Captain Elias. Ward never walked out. But he didn't die a ghost. He died a legend. 3 weeks later, across the galaxy, people spoke one name. Not in fear, not in whispers, but in hope. Elias Ward. Monuments were raised on Mars, Luna, Ander, and even neutral worlds. The Terran Eagle flew again, and not as a symbol of war, but as a promise that even if Earth burned, humanity would rise again, not to conquer, but to stand tall, to remember, to protect, and to never ever let betrayal go unanswered. The war was over, but the legend of Captain Ward was just beginning.